So, which one are you?
Gray sweatpants, green jersey, right there, right now.
Oops, you kind of rushed that shot.
He's just trying to stick it back, you know.
Still, not enough arc in your shot.
Check this one out here, right now.
There you go.
Swish.
Defender sort of lets you shoot.
Still gotta make it, Dad.
Say, how old are these guys?
We're everything 30 to 65. I think I'm the fourth from the oldest. That guy right there, 65, making that shot right now.
Now he's got a good arc on his shot. You know, I think it's great that you're still playing and that you've got all those good friends.
Check this one out, coming up right here, this pass. Mike blew my assist. I'm still trying to impress him. I mean, I had a buddy video the game so I could show him. I barely got off the bench in high school, and he was always there in the stands waiting for me to get in. I still want him to know that I can play.
When did you get back from seeing him?
Flew back last night.
And how's he doing?
Not so well, really. He had another faint in the dining room at the retirement home, so he had to spend another day or two in the little local hospital there. Every time he spends any time in the hospital, he comes back weaker. This last time he wasn't even strong enough to get down to the cafeteria to get his meals, so he was taking all his food in his room while I was there. You know, and he moves around his little apartment, but it's no bigger than your tiny waiting room out here, really. It's small. But he'll dress himself in the morning and move from his bed to his chair and maybe to his desk for a little while. But he is really shaky.
And he's on the assisted living hall?
Yeah, that's right. So he can call for help with a signal to the nurse's station, but...
Well, it's a tough time. Remind me, what are his main health challenges? He's 92?
No, he's 93. My brother Steve says he's just outliving his parts, really. But he's got mild Parkinson's disease, mostly affects his walking. He's got enlarged prostate, and so that makes him have to pee all the time. He lost a kidney a few years ago. They took it out, and you know, he's mostly a faint and fall risk. That's the big thing, and he's just, like I said, not steady even with his walker.
And he's not dealing with dementia?
No, he's still pretty sharp. In fact, we had some really good conversations and good moments on this most recent trip.
Well, you're lucky for that. You know, 'cause caring for somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's can be very, very disheartening when they stop knowing you. Tell me more about one of those nice moments.
Well, ever since my mom died, I've been helping him make a CD every year. You know, music from his own personal collection, just to give to the family. And it's been a lot of fun. It's really given him something to focus on.
Cool. Who's he like? What's he listen to?
I brought one of them to show you. Mostly, you know, his era's top artists like Crosby and Sinatra, Satchmo, Ella Fitzgerald, but also like B.B. King and Ray Charles, some more contemporary stuff. And then he's got some unknown bands like the Buck Creek Jazz Band that he and my mom used to go out and dance to in the D.C. area like 30 years ago. And you see that insert there? He wrote all the liner notes for it. He really knows his music. He wrote them all longhand. He never learned to type. So my sister Jane would edit them and type them up, and we'd make it in this really nice package for him. In fact, we were working on one during this last trip.
You know, I was just thinking about the lineup for our next CD.
Yeah, Dad, what you thinking?
I think that Buck Creek jazz number needs to go between the Ella and the Goodman song.
All right, you want to hear it to be sure?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Hey, you.
Hey, I'm figuring you just walked back in from spin class and you're trying to decide whether to eat first or take a shower.
Yep, I actually just walked in, so you know me so well. Oh, hey, I went by your place and checked your mail. It was nothing but coupons.
All right, well, don't get rid of that Bed Bath & Beyond coupon. I know I'm going to use that one.
You know, I got it. You can add it to the pile when you get back. Hey, thanks for texting that picture of your dad. He looked really serene.
Yeah, I was really happy watching him enjoy his music. I know that piece, and I know you know it too.
Yeah, like when we lay in bed for an hour on Saturday mornings listening to the iPod, just staring at the ceiling. I really love that.
That's how Dad always listened to music. Except for the iPod part. He would just sit and stare and really listen. It wasn't background music for him.
Like father, like son. And fortunately, like son's girlfriend, too.
Yeah. I'm really grateful for that.
Me too. So, how's he doing?
Not so good. Really weak after this last visit in the hospital. Just really shaky, even with his walker. And stubborn about getting help. It's weird because I feel like I'm looking into a crystal ball 33 years down the road at myself. And I'm sure I'll be the same way, stubborn about getting help.
Yeah, maybe. But what about that guy we saw on TV last week, still playing basketball at 86? I thought that's what you were shooting for.
Oh, I am. But, 7 years after that, when I'm 93, I'm going to be ornery and stubborn too, probably. How's your mom?
Not so great, actually. She had another round of shots today, which she hates. And they think the cancer might be coming back, but her full scan isn't until next week. Anyway, it sucks. It sucks to be old.
Yeah, it can suck. But look at Jimmy Carter. I mean, the guy's like 91 years old. Looks like he beat his cancer. And he and Rosalind are probably building homes in Botswana even as we speak.
I love that guy, but he's a certified superhero. So you back on Monday?
Right, and I've got therapy with Don Tuesday morning, and then we can do dinner Tuesday night.
I've already reserved our table at Slate Street Cafe for 6:30. Does that work?
Perfect. I'll dress in my Johnny Cash all black, just like on our first date.
Excellent. I'd like that. So I know it's late out there, so you get some sleep and text me from the airports on Monday so I can track you.
Ooh, I love it when you track me. All right. Good night, Sam. Love you.
Love you too, babe.
I told Samantha I felt like I was looking at my future self, like how I would look how I would be at 93. Because my dad and I are so much alike.
Well, our parents are our models for a lot of our behavior.
Yeah, well, in this case, I'm really talking about physiology. We're so much alike that way. We both got low heart rates. We both got enlarged prostates. Same body type, generally, bald. Good teeth. He gave me really good, strong teeth. Then he had to pay to straighten them out.
Those were crooked?
Oh, gosh, it was like a cross between a Bucky Beaver cartoon and, I don't know, like Michael Strahan today, the little gap. I used to refer to the British actor Terry Thomas until people stopped understanding what the hell I was talking about.
Terry Thomas, Mad, 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 Mad World. I would have known.
All right, there you go. Points for you. So my dad and I are so alike body-wise. I don't know, when I get even the littlest muscle spasm anywhere on my body, I think it's like the first sign of Parkinson's for me.
Well, actually only about 15% of people with Parkinson's have a family history of it.
It's kind of encouraging to hear that, I guess. But my life has been totally different. I mean, the biggest thing I did when I was a teenager was making the varsity basketball team in high school. And he went to war.
Not going to war is a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah. No, I know that. It's just that the achievement of making the high school basketball team is not the same as preparing to go to war and going to war and coming back safely from war. And then I didn't work for the same company for 35 years. I must have worked for 10 different newspapers in my career and didn't stay with the same woman for 60 years. 35 years I had 2 divorces and about a half dozen other relationships, no kids.
All right, so it was different. But how do you think your dad felt about you going through all those relationships?
I don't think my dad understood the kind of women I was attracted to. Independent, smart, career-focused women. The kind of women his generation of men weren't really so familiar with, But even still, he never tried to talk me out of a relationship or talk down any of my partners. And I do appreciate that.
And how was he to you about all those breakups?
No, he supported me through them. He never shamed or blamed me about any of them. I'm sure him and Mom talking at home said stuff like, poor Paul, he never got it together like, Jane and Steve did. Or maybe they said, poor Paul, those women never loved him enough, because it couldn't have been my fault, right? In fact, my mom took the wedding pictures from my first wedding, and after the divorce, she clipped out the face of my ex-wife and kept the pictures for a while because she liked how our family looked in them, all dressed up.
Really?
Yeah. Divorce was just not a part of their world. Divorce just spoiled all the pictures.
Well, that's true. But your life can be different than your dad's. It still picked up a lot from his. Not so much about what we do in our lives, it's more about how we do it.
So nothing survives but the way we live our lives.
That sounds like a song lyric.
Yeah, you know me too well. Yeah, it's Jackson Browne, a song called Daddy's Tune, actually. There's another line in there I love, make room for my 45s along beside your 78s.
Sounds like Jackson's making the case for the generations not being so different. He's saying they're only differentiated by their music formats.
Yeah, well, it's like nobody owns music anymore, right? You pay to have access to everything. Nothing's precious anymore.
You're right about that. But I think what does stay consistent is that we pick up a lot from our parents that influence the way we live our lives. It's the most powerful thing they can pass down. It's the most powerful thing we can pass down, good or bad.
So, what about those of us who don't have anyone to pass down to?
How we live our lives impacts anyone we come in contact with, not just kids. And you have nieces and nephews and Amanda's son?
Michael.
And Michael, who you co-parented for almost 4 years. They'll all pick up life lessons from you.
Yeah, I just don't get to spend very much time with any of them. I mean, Michael once a week, which is cool. But they're getting most of their life lessons from their parents, as it should be.
And as your dad ages, How are you feeling about what he and your mom passed down to you?
Well, I mean, fortunately for me, mostly a good example, you know. I mean, my dad still triggers stuff in me, you know, stuff you and I have talked about in here for 12 years.
Right. And as long as you recognize what from him triggers that anger in you, that upset, you can catch it before it throws you off balance and has you hurting somebody else. So, what's new from these visits that you're learning about how you're like your dad?
Well, here's something new I'll tell you about that I think you'll get a kick out of. So I rolled him out to the patio on a really nice day. It was too far for him to walk with the walker, really. He liked being outside, but he just couldn't get himself to ask anyone to take him out. Didn't want to impose. That's kind of another Williams family rule. But I said, come on, Dad, let's get some fresh air. So we're out there on the patio talking about family times, and he was talking about missing my mom. And then completely out of the blue, he says,
You know, I do miss the sex.
I'm sorry, Dad, you said you miss the sex?
Yeah, I do.
You talking about with Mom?
Oh, yeah. You know, it was best at our house at Pine Acres when I retired. Yeah, we had separate bedrooms then because we both snored. And in my bedroom, there were these two twin beds that I could push together or pull apart.
Yeah, I remember those.
Those were the best for sex.
And then he gives me just the kind of detail no kid, I don't care how old you are, really wants to hear about his mom and dad, you know? So he's going on and on.
She was a little reluctant at times.
You know, I can't believe what I'm hearing, especially since I didn't ask for any of this at all.
But other times, oh, she really got into it.
And then somehow the whole soliloquy winds up into an actual lesson.
We learned a lot from each other. I mean, a lot.
And what was that?
You have to learn to take more pleasure in pleasing your partner than in pleasing yourself. And if you both do that, it works out pretty darn good.
I think he was telling me something that maybe he thought I didn't know, since I'd had 2 divorces and a few girlfriends. That's actually right. I've always kind of known that, though, Dad, just for the record. But thanks for sharing it.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad I could.
How did that make you feel?
Well, mostly I was relieved and happy to hear that he and Mom, it sounds like, enjoyed sex. Because I do too. And it was a nice little undiscovered additional bond that we share that I never knew. And I thought it would have been useful if, like, he told me some of this like 35 years ago. So I do remember the sex talk. Well, I was like 12 or 13, and my dad comes into the room with this little green book about this big. And, you know, it had line drawings of the man and the woman and just some of the very basic positions. Wasn't much of a primer. But one thing I do remember is that he said during that talk, he said, Paul, sex can be a beautiful thing. And I always remembered that. And I really appreciated that. But, you know, I had to learn a lot of it on my own.
How'd you figure it out?
Well, men's magazines, really. I mean, I didn't have any confidants to talk to. I couldn't talk to my brother about it. I didn't have friends I could talk to about sex. So, yeah, so men's magazines. And, you know, I had to unlearn most of those stories when I started dating real women.
Now, that would be good to talk about in here sometime.
No, you've heard all those stories already.
Probably not all of them.
Hey, look, our time is up.
It's usually my line. All right, when should we meet again?
Well, I'm going back to the Carolinas next week to see him again, so best be Tuesday, 2 weeks.
Okay, sounds good. When you're with him, think about that harder stuff you've told me about in here over the years, you know, between you and your dad.
What, like he blamed us kids for making our mom cry when it might have been him, and that he's distant and remote from us sometimes, and thought my politics was naive and ill-conceived, or that he just didn't listen to me the way I wanted him to, you know, the way you do.
Right. Stuff like that.
Don, you know, he's 93. I really don't want to hit him up on stuff like that. He's kind of earned his piece for me complaining about a few issues he left me with.
Oh, just keep that stuff in mind and listen to him. He may have something to say about all those things in these kind of close to the end days.
Okay. Well, I haven't been able to forget those things for 60 years, so I doubt I'll forget about them on this trip. All right, I hear you. Yeah, listen to him. You know, I'm a reporter. I can do that. I listen. You know, I even take notes sometimes.
Good.
See ya.
See you.
Now, Dad, I can spend more time with you here. With Steve and Jane and their teaching schedules, they can't spend a lot of days with you here, but I can spend weeks at a time, since I work for myself, as long as I've got my laptop and can take some time to, you know, make some phone calls and do some writing. I can be here longer with you, and I would do that for you, Dad, if that's what you really wanted.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
So I told him I'd do it, but I feel guilty because I'm just not really sure that I meant it.